Hi everyone, and welcome to episode 20. And my name is Andi. 54 and wanting more is the name of the channel, but I've literally just turned 55 and I've had a mega busy 2 weeks. But this episode I am going to talk about all about being solo, and that means being a solo entrepreneur. Hey everyone, Andi here, and oh my god, let me just exhale for a moment. I have had a mega busy couple of weeks. So David and I, that's my better half, we had a joint birthday party a couple of weeks ago, 10 days ago, and that took some organising. It all went off absolutely brilliantly. It was great. But in the midst of arranging everything for the party, I was still working. I had inquiries, I had bookings to make. So I literally felt a lot of anxiety over the last 2 weeks. And honestly, I just felt like there wasn't enough hours in the day, because I'm very lucky to have a partner that's retired and loves looking after me. I know. He does the cooking, he looks after the house, he does the ironing. And, I have a little bit of guilt that I can't contribute more, because every spare minute I've got, I'm trying to set up my business. So, ultimately, I put the washing in sometimes, I run the hoover around, I do the cleaning and things like that, but he always ends up doing the ironing, and I feel really guilty about that. I don't mind ironing. I would love to iron. Yes, you heard it right. I would love to do some ironing. And whilst I was doing the ironing, watch some afternoon TV. But that is quality time for a solo entrepreneur, or a solopreneur, as they've coined it. So I have to put every spare moment that I've got into my job. And yes, it is all about balance. And I've got my morning routine, which is non-negotiable. So I get up in the morning around 7 o'clock ish. I'm doing my lemon water first thing, taking all my vitamins, doing my yoga. Our gym, which we were doing 3 times a week, has closed. And well, I can't say closed, they've altered their hours, so we can't go during the daytime anymore. And so I've had to think of a plan B for that. I've ordered some weights and a weights bench, so that will be coming back into the routine. But for me, my day is, I like routine. And once that day gets disrupted, I feel disrupted. So if I've got a jobs list to do, or a task list for that day, and something else happens, or there's an issue with something, and like a time bandit, I've lost 1 hour, 2 hours because I've had to deal with something else, then I feel that anxiety start to rise a little bit. And thankfully, because I do yoga, I can take my deep breaths and say this soon will pass, and just get on with it and reprioritize the day, so that things that didn't get done get moved across to the following day. Yeah. And you look at yourself, and sometimes you think, oh, you feel overwhelmed as a solopreneur. You will have days, several times, where you just feel completely overwhelmed and think to yourself, I can't do this, or what am I doing this for? Well, let me tell you what you're doing this for. You're doing it for yourself, so that you can live on your own terms. And that's the reason. Yes, I could go out and go back and find a job that was 40 hours a week and more, probably, get 4 weeks holiday a year, plus a few bank holidays. I can't even contemplate going back to that. You are living on somebody else's terms then. So being a solopreneur is not easy by any stretch of the means, but it is rewarding. So you take the rough days with the smooth days. I don't like to use good or bad days, because every day is a good day if you're still breathing. So You have your rough days, you have your smooth days, and you take it like that, and you take it as it is. And there's always something to look forward to, always. I'm blessed with having fantastic friends, and we have little dates in the diary, even if it's just for a phone call or to meet up for a coffee. Or David and I often go and see these tribute bands, or we went to see Coldplay a couple of weeks ago, which was amazing. So it's always important to put in social things as well, just to keep you ticking over. You know, you don't have to go on holiday. I am a travel agent, so I want you to go on holiday. But you don't have to go on holiday. It can be small things. It doesn't have to be expensive things. You know, going to see a tribute band and paying, or a comedy show and paying like £15 for a ticket is great. And it's a night out and you're out the house. Anyway, I digress. Being a solopreneur. My story. I did my first business when I was 23 years old, called Tenacity. And in my head, I loved fashion. So I was all about fashion magazines. I had absolutely no education in it, but I feel like I've got a good eye. So I met a couple of people at the time that were fashion designers, and I teamed up with them, and it was my idea for us to produce a fashion brand and then to put it into retail stores. And that didn't work. I think I tried it for a couple of years, lost a lot of money. All this time I am working in a normal job, but I've always had that ambition to be a solopreneur. So moving forward, and I built a great career with Wilco's, and I loved that job. I loved retail, and I worked with them for 12 years, but still in the back of my head, I always wanted more. And that's what you get when you're a solopreneur. So then I had it in my head to invest in property, and I bought my first buy-to-let property after I'd saved enough money for a deposit. So I got my first buy-to-let property and sorted my tenants out, and that was step one. Fine. And then when I was living in Turkey, I moved to Turkey at the age of 33. And what was I going to do in Turkey? There was a language barrier, and my skills were retail, but because of the language barrier, it's not something I just couldn't walk into a retail job. So I spent the first 2 years before going to Turkey training to be a fitness instructor, with the ambition that I was going to open my own fitness gym. So I went across to Turkey in 2003. I got that right, yes, to live permanently, and I set up my fitness studio. And it was great. I worked freelance. I met a load of the expats there. I met a lot of Turkish ladies, and it was great. And I made enough money to tick over and survive on, and it was going fine. Then I got introduced to a lady through my then husband, because as a couple, he was also very ambitious and entrepreneurial. So we were very, very busy people. And at this point, I'd been doing freelance classes, and everything was just ticking over nicely. And I got introduced to this lady, and she introduced me to a concept called Curves, which was fitness for women only. And it was 30-minute fitness, but it was a franchise. So you had to commit to 5 years. You had to commit to, I don't know what it was, $500 a month or something like that. So I did that. And boy, that was hard work. But you know what's important about being a solopreneur? Passion. You have to have passion. If you haven't got passion, then you're not going to survive. You've got to enjoy what you're doing. And I did. And I felt like I was contributing. I had job satisfaction. I had fulfillment. But I wasn't earning a lot of money. Because I was a solopreneur, any money that I was earning within the business, I didn't even take a salary at that point. I was putting it back into the business to try and grow it. And it was going great. It was going absolutely fine. So to cut a long story short, and it was devastating at the time, but when I got divorced, I lost my Curves franchise after working on it for 5 years and really building up the business. So after all that hard work, I'd lost everything. And this was the time that life changed. I ran off to sea and I went to work on cruise ships for 8 years. Then at that stage, I loved being at sea and it was a great job. I had the best job on the ship, which was working for the shore excursions department. I was paid to get off in every single port. I mean, it was like the dream job. But even after 8 years, I was getting bored. I mean, it sounds quite flippant, but I'd done 3 seasons of the Caribbean, and I'd get to Barbados and I didn't even bother to step outside the port area, or I'd go to New York and I went and bought some New York cheesecake and then went back to the cabin and binge watched Downton Abbey. Thanks for that DVD, Johnny D. So I was getting really complacent about the job also and a little bit bored. So I gave myself a year where I was going to have a sabbatical so I could find a new direction because I really just didn't know what to do. And that year that I gave myself a sabbatical was 2020. So what happened was COVID. Life completely changed. Nobody was at sea anymore. So I had to think of something different. So my solopreneur head said, let's go back to property. I went back to property. I spent thousands of pounds, which I'd saved to cover me for the year for my sabbatical when I was going to go traveling and do this and that on courses. So I trained all different property interests. So there was rent to rent, there was sourcing, buy to let. So I did a lot of education with regards to property. And I bought a couple more buy to lets over a couple of years. And then I also did rent to rent. So I had serviced accommodation. And then that's bringing me up to now. So this last 18 months, I decided that I didn't want to do serviced accommodation anymore. Financially, it wasn't that rewarding, and the stress for it was not good. Fire alarms going off, dodgy people staying in your accommodation. It just wasn't suiting, and the rising costs. So I was basically paying a fortune to get the linen cleaned and for the apartments to be cleaned, and it just wasn't worth it. So I knocked that on the head and thought, what am I going to do now? As a solopreneur, I look back and I was thinking, I do love travel. You've always got to think about what it is that you love and what's your passion. And somebody approached me during the beginning of COVID about being a travel agent, and I was like, no, thanks. I'm going to start doing property, but thanks anyway. So literally, sort of 3 years later, 4 years later, I contacted the same person and I said, are you still doing that travel agent thing? And he said, yeah, of course. He sent me some more details and I literally signed up within a week. And I've been doing that now for the last 18 months and haven't looked back. I'm absolutely loving it. And it's not easy. If you're a solopreneur, you have to work hard. I don't know why people get this impression that if you own a business, that you're raking money in and that life's like all roses. It's bloody hard work. And you have to have a commitment to yourself as well as a commitment to everybody else that you're involved with. And you have to drive your own passion and you have to drive your own enthusiasm. You haven't got a boss and you haven't got work colleagues around to support you. I feel quite lucky in this environment because I have got a few work colleagues within the travel agency industry that have supported me. And within this company, the support is great. So I don't feel so alone. But it's still a business that is going to rise only from your own actions. So when we talk about your own actions and you're trying something new or you're stepping into the unknown, Think about the word just. And Nike coined the phrase, just do it. Just go and talk to that person. Just open that door. Just make that telephone call. Just do it. Just take action. Just take that one step forward. And always be aware of not judging people from their appearance. Never judge a book by its cover. You do not know what is going on in that person's life from behind. But you cannot judge people by the way they look. You have to sort of get to know people. And when you're a solopreneur, it's important to have communication skills. And if you feel like you're an introvert and you think, oh, that's not me, you can build on your communication skills by just saying hello, introducing yourself, and then asking them a question and then listening. It's as simple as that. So what I'm trying to get across today is being solo is not a bad thing. Being a solopreneur is fabulous because you're living on your own terms. And if you're watching this and you're thinking, I need to take that step, or I just don't feel confident enough to do it, what I'm here and I'm telling you now is just do it. Just take that step. Just make that telephone. Make that investment in yourself. Just try it. And if you fail, it doesn't matter. Just try again. I have tried and failed several times over my last 30 odd years being a solopreneur. And it's all about the journey. You've got to enjoy the journey. That, at the end of the day, is the whole kit and caboodle of it. Yes, it would be nice to earn some money as well, but you've got to enjoy what you're doing and have that passion and love your journey. So don't forget to like, share, put a comment below. Are you a solopreneur? What's your business? Drop it down below. And I would love to find out what it is that you're passionate about. Bye for now. #LoveYourJourney.